Hello, and welcome back to Fast and Founders, the podcast. My name is Victoria Smith, and this week I'm joined with Natalie Shine, the host of the Big Silly Trivia Game. If you don't know what the Big Silly Trivia Game is, you are missing out. It is a 30-minute Wednesday night trivia for the girls all about pop culture. Natalie is the host, and she is incredible at it. The prizes are amazing, the questions are so fun, the vibes are high, and you're just guaranteed a midweek pick-me-up. In this episode, you will hear the origin story of the Big Silly Trivia Game and get a bit of the behind the scenes of how the creative strategy and storytelling works that weaves through every single episode. There's a lot to unpack, from the perfectly curated themes, the incredibly strong community that has come out of this, and fun things happening in the future for the Big Silly Trivia Game. The conversation ranges from fun and games, quite literally, to returning to yourself and making the younger version of you proud and doing the things that really truly make you happy. I was laughing a lot in this episode. Natalie is hilarious, and definitely wait until the end for a very funny hot take. I definitely need to keep asking every guest this question because I've been getting some pretty iconic answers. I'm so excited to share this episode, and hopefully I see you all next Wednesday night playing the Big Silly Trivia Game. So let's get into it. And if you've been enjoying these episodes, it would mean so much to me if you could rate, review, and follow the podcast wherever you listen or watch. It's definitely the best way to keep up with the newest episodes and help other people find the show. So thank you so much. And this week's highlight is the brand Spicy Dan. You may have seen her very colorful beaded necklaces on Instagram. Someone who I follow is Brett Spites, and I see her wearing her Spicy Dan necklace all the time. So love that for Danielle, because Brett is one of my favorite follows. The founder, Danielle, shared with me that she has been creating jewelry since childhood. After years of crafting unique pieces for her friends and family, she launched Spicy Dan as a passion project in spring 2023. It began as a creative outlet following the loss of her father to pancreatic cancer. Spicy Dan embodies a fresh take on accessible, customizable, semi-fine jewelry, combining high-quality gemstones sourced from India with 14-karat gold plated hardware and enamel accents. Designed to be both playful and versatile, these pieces make the perfect everyday statement. Each piece is handcrafted in small batches with natural variations in the stones, ensuring that every item is one of a kind. Now based in New York, Danielle draws inspiration from her 8 years in Austin, Texas, infusing Spicy Dan with the city's funky charm. Since its debut, Spicy Dan has joined forces with an impressive roster of retailers, including Stony Clover Lane, Tecovas, and Cynthia Rowley. Her pieces are such a fun statement, and she curates really cool collections. I saw on her Instagram actually today some cherry charms, and I love that you can customize your own piece too. I really admire what she's building, so definitely go check her out. It's shopspicydan.com and on Instagram.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm thrilled. I'm loving the lights. I'm loving the boucle couch. It's really feeling fabulous in here.
And I play the Big Silly Trivia Game, so this is like very funny to me that you're here in real life.
I could say the same anytime I meet what I call a real human girl who plays the game. I'm always blown away because it's such a two-way street of a game, and I interact so constantly with the players, but to meet someone or get stopped in the street and they're like, Big Silly Trivia. It's like this fight club for girls. I'm always so pumped to meet people and always give them like the biggest hugs because it's just the coolest thing. There's like real people on the other side.
I know. It's like if you know, you know type of.
Totally.
Okay, I can't wait to hear how this all started. It's only been about a year.
Yeah,
so...
the 1 year, our birthday, if you will, is like end of February, early March. So yeah, we're just under a year.
That's so exciting. So yeah, please, what is your background? How did you get into this? Did you always think you would be a trivia host?
I'll give you the whole story of moi. Well, I guess for anyone listening, hi. I'm listening, hopefully watching, because we've got a really nice setup in here. I'm Natalie Shine. I'm the host of the Big Silly Trivia Game. And let's see, I hail from the West Coast. I grew up near Seattle, lived in LA for about 8 years, and have made my way east. And I don't see myself ever leaving before hosting a trivia show. And I'm like, where do I look? You?
You're doing a good job looking here. I always forget to do that.
They're like beckoning me. Before I started hosting the Big Silly Trivia Game, I was working in content strategy, dabbling in content creation. Was kind of like the jack of all trades of a marketing major who had interests in, lifestyle fashion brands. I worked for a high-end athleisure brand for like 6 years. That was probably the most, I'd say, like standard job I had. And then after that, I've always been an outdoor cat, kind of like working for myself, working for a handful of startups, helping them with social. And then over the past year, my heart and soul and main focus has really turned to hosting this trivia show. And yeah, so I get that question a lot, like, how'd this start? What the heck is going on here? Back in, February of 2024, my husband, Emmett, he serial entrepreneur, is like always working on a million things at once, incredibly smart, incredibly curious. And he was working with a group of people on this startup that was kind of testing out different gaming concepts and just kind of trying to figure out something that would stick. And so they had recently hired a couple of my really close girlfriends to help sort of fine-tune strategy and like a last hurrah, if you will. And they were like, let's try, what's the simplest like game in the books? Trivia. And through the research, they'd seen that female casual game players, 18 to 35, there was kind of this huge untapped market of like a game built for them. And then they needed a host. And I wasn't involved. And it was actually my friends who were kind of helping with the strategy and creative. Shout out Jamie Huckins, shout out Lexi Bone. They were like, all right, okay, we need a host. And I was like, fine. Like kind of as a favor. I remember being to Emmett, like, I'll help you. Like, I want everything that you work on to succeed. And this sounds like a cool idea, but like, what the heck is this, And then we had the first episode where I was hosting and had like 7 people on a Zoom. My mom, my little brother, like my childhood friends. I'm like, you guys have to join this thing. 6 p.m. Pacific time. I was still living in LA. And then that first game happened and it was like, all right, that was kind of like fun and weird. And, I went through a game of like 12 trivia questions that were just about pop culture of whatever was going on. The prizes, I think, for that first episode were really awesome. It was like a vintage Bottega wallet that my friend Juliet, the millennial decorator, she had like sourced all the prizes for these early episodes. Erewhon gift card. It was awesome. Like those girls that played the early games, just like cha-ching, cha-ching. Like they really lucked out. And then we moved to New York, like after doing 1 or 2 in LA on like the floor of our old apartment. And then I remember getting to New York. It was about a month, 2 months after kind of that first episode where, we'd hit like 100 players and then we hit 300. I think we hit 100 like our third week. And then there was a month where each week they were doubling in live players. And then it was April, we had like a Coachella themed episode. We had like 1,500 live players.
I was on that one.
Yeah, that's still probably one of my favorite. Like I made a flower crown and something clicked, on that path where I was like, okay, I'm really enjoying this actually. Like something that kind of started as, you know what? You guys need a pop culture like trivia host for, Zillennial women. Like it's pretty in my alley. I'll do it. And then it's like each week that happened, it was less of people that I knew and it was like more strangers, but more strangers that were so part of this kind of invisible community. And each week that would happen, I just felt so like affirmed and excited. And then before I knew it, I was like, okay, I'm so into this. I'm like so lit up by it. It's so affirming to have hundreds and then, thousands of people be like, what you're doing brings me so much joy. And also to carve out 30, 45 minutes of their week every week to sit down and play and be a part of the community. So what's that like the quote about falling in love from The Fault in Our Stars? It's like you fall in love the way you fall asleep, like slowly and then all at once, I haven't even read the book, but like I've seen that quote on Pinterest boards from like 2012. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about stepping into this role is it's like I didn't seek it out, but it kind of just came and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, like this is all I ever want to do. Yeah. This is like everything I could ever dream of.
Well, you're perfect for it. Like I would have thought you had like done this before, the way that it all goes. Well, I think it's so interesting you're in business with your husband too. How is it working with your partner?
Yeah, Emmett, my husband, is so smart, so creative, so humble, so curious. I've always really looked up to the way that he leads teams. And so I think, in like the cheesy answer to that is like, I feel really lucky in a lot of ways. He has so much experience in areas that I don't. But I think first and foremost, whether it's your partner, your best friend, you have to remember that like the priority of the relationship is being husband and wife, being best friends. To me, he's both of those things. So that's kind of always top priority. Like work, business, projects, like will never, overpower that, and they can't, or else you're in trouble. And I think that we also have really great swim lanes. So for me, I feel super empowered by him. He's always kind of gently pushing me to be a leader, to just kind of be like weirder and more creative. And I feel super safe having him who understands business, understands startup culture. He's kind of always like in these entrepreneurial roles where he's tinkering and testing, and he's just really great at bringing teams together too. So I think we have really carved out lanes, and the priority is always going to be like a loving relationship. But if you can make those two things complement each other, I think it's really special.
Yeah, it's a perfect match, it sounds like.
He's the best. He's the best.
So I was on that Coachella one, and I found out about it through Jade Beglin's series. I actually had her on the podcast before too. So did that kind of skyrocket the reach that you guys got?
Totally. Jade's TikTok, I can't ever thank her enough for that. Actually, our girl who does all the like brand and prize outreach, she found the game through Jade's TikTok too. So it's so cool that a really integral part of our team now is also from Jade's TikTok. Yeah, shout out Jade. Thank you for that. We've seen the biggest bumps in players from that. And then Emily Sundberg early on mentioned the game in her Feed Me Substack, which is like the greatest newsletter ever. So it's kind of cool because outside of those two things, it's really been almost 100% like word of mouth. Like the girls group text,
Yeah.
Wait, have you guys heard of this? Like, wait, I just won, blah, 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 blah on this game. Like, have you guys played it? And that is so powerful. And I feel like brands maybe don't always think to just go super word of mouth, low key in like the marketing sense. But yeah, those big like flashes in growth or in like kind of a swarm of people running to an episode has definitely been in like organic TikTok mentions and Substacks, that kind of thing.
That must be so crazy to feel on the Zoom. And you've built such a strong community. Like I have felt it being on those Zooms where the Zoom chat is just like going crazy. Like I can't read it fast enough because it's just like everyone wants to be involved. And you have someone called the boss. If anyone who hasn't played the game, if they're like, is there a mob boss behind the scenes? Like if you want to explain that a little bit.
Yes. So in the world of the Big Silly Trivia game, it's kind of like, we have like our pink curtains. It's supposed to evoke this feeling of nostalgia and like those really legendary old Americana game shows, but then with like a very modern pop culture sort of magic wand across the whole thing. But since the beginning, we've had this character called the boss. Think of it like Charlie and Charlie's Angels, or the boss just kind of calls the shots.
Wizard of Oz.
The boss is, the boss. Exactly. Very Wizard of Oz. And they're kind of moderating the game and all that stuff. People are always like, who's the boss? Is the boss your husband? I was like, no, first of all, that would be so boring. That's so like expected. But the boss is like, the boss is me. The boss is you. I think that's been a really fun part about building the brand around Big Silly Trivia is you have to like have characters and you have to have like plot lines and lore. And there's inside jokes within people's, within these like Zoom chats, which I think has been so much fun to like, like who is the boss? Like, I think they're a Scorpio and, they really love like jazzercise or like it just anything like character building of these behind the scenes figures and just the lore. Like people love lore.
No, the storytelling in the brand is like really impressive. And like the Instagram is private. Like there's just a lot about it. I think that everyone's like, wait, what is this?
Yeah.
And I'm curious, how have you built these partnerships with brands that maybe are with prizes or you've done like in-person events and stuff like that? Because I feel there's this shift in like the influencer economy where people brands specifically are like not really sending huge things anymore to influencers, but they're trying new ways to involve just like the average consumer, the average person, just like in their product to make them feel really welcome, but also special. And you're such a great avenue for that.
Thank you.
So I'm sure the brands are like, oh my God, like, have you heard of this game? How have these partnerships been kind of coming about?
Yeah. From the start, you know, we always were really curatorial about our prizes. And I think that kind of almost sends out like a bat signal to people who work at these brands when they start to join the game. It's like, oh, that's kind of like, I get what they're putting down. Actually, in our last episode, it was like our touchdown trivia episode, and it was like Super Bowl, but we just talked about like WAGs and halftime shows and commercial breaks. And I was talking about, we have big silly trivia marketing moles, essentially. We have so many people that play the game that are on the creative teams of the brands that we're all obsessed with. And so it's drawn in players who work in marketing, work in fashion, work on the brand side. So it's this like self-sustaining system. And I think that's been so cool. Like, I'm endlessly appreciative because it's this, you know, these young women who have the creative talent who are on these marketing teams who are telling their, you know, maybe more like corporate managers, hey, like, this is what we should be doing. And because they're genuine members of the community, they're really able to like advocate for us. And so that's always like the coolest thing is, you know, for Spotify, for Marc Jacobs and Vogue, like these partnerships that I wouldn't have believed we were capable of like a year ago before the game even existed, whatever. It's all just because they played the game and they're part of the community. And so, yeah, it's really like the game is really run and built by our community. I value so much everyone's feedback and kind of like, what do you want? What prizes do you want? And we kind of like manifest it. You know, if people are like, oh, I want XYZ, I'll like say it during the game and then I'll get hit up and it's like, hey, I work on the brand side of like the brand. So it's kind of, again, there's like this magic wand feeling to a lot of things where it's like you can kind of speak it into existence because the people that play the game are so generous and so like excited about it.
Yeah, I think that's such a perfect example of like how strong your community is in it because they just like want to keep helping you grow and succeed. Do you have any dream partnerships? You just mentioned Spotify.
Well, we did our Spotify
Oh,
Wrapped.
yeah.
That was so much fun. Their team is like so incredible. And that was also so organic because from the start, the music that we play during the games is like a really important part of the game experience. And we've always used Spotify. We always would share our Spotify playlist. So to celebrate Wrapped with Spotify at the end of the year was like the coolest thing. I dressed up like a Club Libby Lou like pop star, which was also just like so fun to do. But dream partnerships, Delta, Amex, like my dream is to be like sending the trivia dolls like across, like I want people to win a week on a Carnival cruise or like go to Disney World, you know, like send me a picture from Epcot. That's what I want. I want experiential things. I think would be so much fun. I really would love to see a Big Silly Trivia like collaboration with a makeup brand. You know, we have like our kind of iconic pink color. Like how do you, again, put that storytelling into products or experiences or I want to do it all. I want to do it all. But yeah, I'm like obsessed with Delta Airlines. So
That's so
that would be, I'm like, I'm a stan.
I can see all of that happening, though. You know what's really reminding me of? Do you remember Sweet Life of Zach and Cody or Sweet Life on Deck? They did like a Danimals giveaway.
Girl.
And if you ate a Danimals, you could enter. And it was the concept of like, oh, if I eat this, I could be on the boat too. And now so much influencer marketing is like, go watch Zach and Cody be on a boat and like pay us. But you're like, no, like you get to be involved too.
Totally. I mean, that would be so much fun to like also travel with the community, a brand trip, like a Big Silly Trivia brand trip. You know, maybe we like rent out a sandals resort. Like it's also got to be camp and a little bit weird, but the Danimals, yes, I remember that. I was like chugging that liquid yogurt like no tomorrow because I was also just so obsessed with Zach and Cody. I was thinking this week, sidebar on Zach and Cody, do you remember the British twins?
Which ones?
There were these beautiful blonde British twins that were on the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody Girls. was like Millie and I'm spacing on the other one.
I remember the episode where Zach and Cody dressed up as girls.
I remember that too.
I don't remember the twins.
Oh my gosh. I was just thinking about those early Disney Channel and Nickelodeon like influences. Like when Miley Cyrus got a ton of extensions in the later episodes of Hannah Montana. Like my brain has been
Wired by that.
Wired by those things. So every time I think of Zach and Cody, I think of those like really slay British twins. But that's besides the
I can
point.
see you doing something with like Disney because I feel like a lot of people have had those experiences where my parents banned me from watching Hannah Montana because I developed an attitude. So I like couldn't watch it anymore. They're gonna be like, why did you
They're like, halt.
like cut that? But yeah, it's true. It like impacted me.
Yeah, I loved Disney Channel. Like That's So Raven, Lizzie McGuire. It's part of me. But those are the things I think that Big Silly Trivia is like an avenue for me to express all of these interests and loves that I've had my whole life. I think that I've always been a bit theatrical, and I think that for probably my young adult, teenage life, you kind of like pull that back a bit. And now I feel like I'm able to really let my freak flag fly because I've just found people that really enjoy it and like get it and love it. What you said something about, Disney, another dream collab, American Girl.
Ooh,
American Girl dolls. Like I still have my Josefina, my Marisol, my baby Josefina. Like,
is the American Girl Doll Cafe still like around?
Yes, and I found out that they serve booze because
Really?
like you can get a mimosa there. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So I'm actually having a brain blast right now. I really think there should be like a Big Silly Trivia, like tea time at the American Girl Doll.
No, you should 100% do that because I always wanted to go, but I was too old when they opened, or like maybe my mom could never take me. But my sister just had kids, but they're like
Aw.
1. So I need to wait a few
Yeah, you
years
gotta,
to
like,
take
let 'em
them,
cook
else
a
that
bit.
would be bad. But please do that.
Yeah. No, my friend had gone recently and she was posting stories, and I'm like, are you like allowed to go as an adult without,
Without a child.
like, how you can't go to like parks in New York City unless you have a kid with you because it's like weird.
Really?
behavior. Yeah, because you can be like an adult lurking at a park.
I feel like,
without
like a
kid.
woman could.
Yeah. Actually, those rules are
They're just for men.
they're just for guys. But anyways, we will get something in the books for the American Girl Doll Cafe.
Yeah, you heard it here first. And then you mentioned you used to be theatrical. Did you have experience doing performances? Because like I don't think I could just wake up one day and like host a trivia game.
Yeah, I think I just think I've always been theatrical, and for better or for worse, I feel like I view my life and the world kind of like a stage. Did you watch Euphoria?
A little bit, not all of it.
There's this episode in season 2 where Lexi, she puts on a play. And you know that quote, it's kind of a meme now where Maddie, she's like, is this fucking play about us?
Yeah.
Because they're watching a school play and it's like just their whole life. That episode, I feel like really explains a lot of the way that I look at the world. And so, yeah, I think I've just sort of always had this like playfulness and theatricality. But I did ballet growing up. So I like loved the stage, but there's no talking, just a lot of like point shoes and glitter and glamour. So I did ballet for like 15 years and I love it so much. And then, yeah, I dabbled in some youth theater programs, but I've just always like loved it. I love to entertain. I love to perform. And now I find myself on Big Silly Trivia, like singing and dancing. I wouldn't call myself a singer. I wouldn't, like I don't identify maybe as much as I did growing up as like a dancer, but it's like, actually screw that. I can just be all those things because it brings me joy and it's just like another form of self-expression. So I also did this thing growing up called Destination Imagination, which is a competitive creative problem solving like group. And I did it in elementary, in middle and high school. And I just have always loved, you would get like a prompt and you'd have to solve like an engineering challenge. And then alongside you'd have to come up with some kind of like on the fly performance. And I just love being around like really smart, creative people. They kind of have like an edge to them. And so I'm kind of just always on the hunt to like bring more of that into my life. But I love to like perform and entertain and I think make people feel seen for their interests as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I think things that give you personally joy, then that expression of it gives other people joy. Like watching the Big Silly Trivia Game, like that is like such a happy part of my midweek Wednesday
Aw.
night, and like something that I think used to just be like mundane in a way. And now there's like this little like, oh, wait, maybe I'll win a Bottega wallet tonight. Like
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
You know who you remind me of?
Who?
Paige DeSorbo.
Oh, I love her. I love her. I also feel like she would wear like a shoulder pad situation like this. I feel like she's also been rocking cute little like
I think like I saw you like a bit, yeah,
like
like
side
that.
bangs page. Yeah. So fabulous.
Yeah, she's so cool. Giggly Squad. Is there anything coming up with the Big Silly Trivia Game we should be looking out for? We just did this touchdown.
Yes. Well, so we're on season 4. And our seasons are about 10 weeks long. So pretty soon I'll be like, season 20, but we're less than a year old. We're in season 4 right now. Last year was kind of like, let's try something. Oh my gosh, this is kind of working. Okay, wait a minute. Now we're working with brands in like a legitimate way. Okay, we have thousands of loyal players. And so I feel like 2025 for us is like, okay, we've seen that there's something here and people really love what we're doing. Like, how do we just, in Emperor's New Groove, which is like, pull the lever, cronk. Like, that's just what I hear in my head all the time is just like pulling all the levers and growing the game to what I can see so clearly it becoming. I feel like we have a really strong North Star. And I guess that's like a piece of advice for anybody growing something is like, you have to be able to close your eyes and like see and feel what you're working on is going to become. So this year, I think just like global girlhood domination, I want to have as many people play the game and find community in it as possible. I want to do some really incredible brand collaborations and just continue to like make 8-year-old Natalie proud. When I was little, I was obsessed. All I wanted to do was be like a host on E! News. And then I kind of forgot about that dream. And then I feel like now I can kind of like like look at the things that I was so sure I would be doing when I was like in second grade. Because I think when you're a little kid, you have a really clear sense of yourself and your dreams are kind of like, yeah, I'll do that. Like, duh, why would I not? Whether you want to be like a pop star or an artist or a scientist or, you're just like, yeah, that's like what I'm going to do and what I'm going to be. And I think sometimes we can lose that a bit. So that's also like my view on this year is I just want to like own the dreams that I've had since I was little and bring Big Silly Trivia into like all I know that it can be.
Yeah, I love that. And you've mentioned that a couple of times. And it's something I have felt so much happening for me as I get older, where things I knew were so core to me, things that I loved to do as a little kid, you kind of lose when you're like in high school and college and you're like, this is awkward, or I don't want to be judged by my peers. And then when you kind of get outside of that, I feel like there has been this like, oh, my inner child
Totally
dialogue, but it really is just like kind of returning to who you already are.
Yeah.
Like you don't really need to find yourself. You kind of just need to like return back to it. And I love what you said about global girlhood domination because it kind of does feel like there's been big events over the past few years that are just like this celebration of just like being a girl and like things that are girly, quote unquote, that sometimes are like, oh, that's so girly. And it was like a negative way people spoke about it. It's like, no, we're going to get really dressed up and like go to the Eras tour or like see the Barbie movie or play the Big Silly Trivia Game and like
I love
it's
that's
silly and it's fun. Yeah, it is those three. So yeah, I love that because it has this bigger potential, I think, than just 30 minutes on Zoom. It's like this kind of feeling of like I get to have fun for me.
Totally. And my ultimate dream is to have the show still be an interactive show, but we're on a set where I can like tap dance across the stage and it feels and looks like a modern day beautiful nostalgic game show.
Yeah.
But then always keeping like those core members of our community like along for the ride. And I think that's also fun for them because they're going to celebrate the game as it grows because we just bring them along with us kind of no matter what. But yeah, global girlhood domination.
You said something that was like my brain lit up, but we're going to have to move on. It'll come back to
Ooh.
me.
I would love to like do that more often for people. I've never heard that before. You mentioned having a North Star with Big Silly Trivia. Do you have any other pieces of advice for people who maybe they're struggling to get back into a passion or they want to start a business or anything kind of just in this realm of kind of stepping into who you are and who you get to be?
I love that. I think a really like tangible piece of business advice is kind of like test the field of what you want to do. I have a friend who has like an incredible brand and she was working a full-time job for probably like the first 2 years. And she was, hustling on the weekends, shipping out orders, curating these drops. She's just like a really iconic brand. And I was always like, quit
Is
your
this the
day
millennial
job.
decorator?
Yes, it is. Julia, she's one of my best friends. She's incredible. But I guess, she just was working so hard doing like pretty much 2 full-time jobs. And I was like, go for it. Like the world has shown you that this is what you're meant to do. And people like are obsessed with it. Like I promise you'll be rewarded for making the jump. And I think that that's obviously like a dream come true. But she also is a great example of she was really like practical and thoughtful about making that jump. Whereas a friend, I was like pushing her to do it because I'm like, you're going to crush.
Yeah.
And she is, and she always has. But I think if you have an idea or you have a business or a brand or something you really want to dive into, like dedicate your weekends, find time around your job that is providing for you. And then you can kind of, I think it's like a nicer way to bridge the gap. But I do believe that when you make leaps like that, like the universe rewards you because it's like, okay, like good job, kid. Like I'm going to show you that was the right decision because you kind of always know like what you're supposed to do.
I completely agree. I feel like that happens once I've made a decision that I'm like, okay, this is aligned with me, my true values. And it's really scary. Then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, okay, that $1,000 just came out of nowhere. Or
Totally.
like all these things just start kind of happening. And it's like, oh, wait, you just feel it instantly that it was the right thing to do. And I love that your example for that question was Julia, the millennial decorator, because she's like the coolest. Like what she does is, I feel like I've just not seen anyone do what she does so well consistently so many times. Yeah.
She works so hard. And another thing I'll say about her, she definitely inspires me in so many ways, but she's an incredibly thoughtful human and friend. She's the friend that's going to like send you flowers or a housewarming gift. She just thinks of all those little details. And I think that she is such a great human to work with, to be a friend with. That's also like, I think very important if you're starting a business, like you got to be a good person.
Yeah.
Like people love working with kind, thoughtful humans, and that's never going to change. So she's like exemplary in so many areas, but I'm very proud of her and always like inspired by her too.
Yeah. Amazing. I was on the Big Silly Trivia Zoom that she kind of like guest.
Yeah, that was
came on
fun.
to. That was really cool.
Yeah, we tested a lot of stuff in seasons like 1 and 2 with like guests and all those things. And this season, we're definitely going to have, we have like a studio space now where we can have a guest come
Yeah.
in. So I would love to just continue to build it into almost more of like a variety show. Like the game itself will always be there. The prizes will always be there. But like, let's, bring in the dancing lobsters, like the guest stars.
Yeah.
We have watch parties that we sponsor like all across the country. We send the girls merch and food and snacks, and we're going to start having them like live stream in so you can see, kind of like put faces to all these other girls that are playing a game. I think one of the coolest things is during the episode, the Zoom chat, like you mentioned, it's like, since we're still on Zoom, the chat, it just fires off. It's like thousands of comments constantly. But people will like run into their friend from college. Like, hey, oh, wait,
Really?
Anna, is that you? Yeah, because they recognize their names. And I think that women are just really looking for communities that don't revolve around like spending money or going out or drinking or eating. Like, love doing all of those things so much. But I really wish that I had something like Big Silly Trivia when I was like freshly out of college and in the thick of a pandemic and all my friends moved home. I felt so lonely, you know, like I really felt lonely and you couldn't interact with the world, first of all. Obviously, just a full different time. But I think that exists and will always exist in like a post-pandemic world, is just this deep sense of loneliness that we kind of like have a responsibility to try and help alleviate. Like, I just want to connect girls with each other. That's really a huge priority of mine. When we've had in-person events in New York, it's the coolest thing because like girls meet each other, become friends. Like, we have these group chats on our private Instagram that are separated by every major city, and people have found roommates on there. They've like gotten jobs because it's essentially just a vetted community of like-minded girls, gays, and theys that all know that they'll get along because they all have this huge common interest of like internet pop culture, you know, fashion and fun and media.
Sometimes I'm playing, I'm like, I bet I would be friends with like everyone else on here. I'm like, hey, we're all here Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Like, let's go play trivia. And so I can imagine in person, it's amazing and such a great like third space for people outside of their corporate jobs to just be there for their own interests.
Yeah.
And be there with a friendship purpose. And I think a lot of people struggle with that post-grad in a big city. Maybe they've moved. And so I'm so happy you're helping people navigate that.
Yeah, it's like something I definitely needed. So if I'm past that phase in my life, it feels like a responsibility to help make that happen for others. Love doing in-person events. Like, we started off this conversation saying how, oh my gosh, it's so crazy to see
I know.
you're real. And when we've had events, you know, when there's like 100+ girls that they show up like wearing merch,
Yeah.
you know, from our site. I'm like, this is just the coolest thing in the world. And even just having, I think sometimes you forget that, you know, 1,000 people playing a game. Like, imagine 1,000 people in a room.
Oh, it's so many.
I'm like, okay, yeah, like this is like my Eras tour. This is nuts. And I want that number to be as many people as possible who will love and cherish the game, and we'll just, you know, bring them joy.
I think we should get into the speed round.
Oh.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Buckle up.
Yes.
What is your hot take?
Wait, you know, I think you should wear whatever the hell shaped jeans you want to wear, like whenever you want to wear them. Other things that people say for hot takes.
Someone once said that men shouldn't wear flip-flops.
Oh, wait. Actually, this is like really lighting up my brain. Yes. Oh, men should not wear sweatpants in public. Men should not wear soft pants in public.
Like a Sunday in New York, though, that's like everywhere.
Yes, but I'm having like really unsettling flashbacks. I also live in the West Village, and that is like prime time territory for like five. I don't want to be mean. Like medium-sized men wearing like soft pants with their bagels. Just put on a pair of pants with a zipper. I find men in soft pants in public, that's inappropriate. I don't need to see what is happening behind your pants. Do you know what I mean? Girls can wear like literally whatever they want. They're perfect. But I find men in soft pants in public to be wildly inappropriate.
I've never heard
That's my
someone
hot
call them soft pants.
But you know what I mean? Because it's like,
No, I
was going to
do.
say pajama pants, but you don't really see that here.
I feel like you like a lot of like flannel pants, like pajama pants.
Men should not wear flannel pajama pants. Yeah, no, this is my hot take. Like, cut the ramble about the jeans. Men should not wear soft pants in public. Also, if you're a guy and you wear like gray sweatpants in public, that is so inappropriate. Like, unless you're Channing Tatum in Step Up, you know, Magic Mike, except any of his dancing flicks. Yeah, like wear pants with zippers and pockets.
I'm so glad I asked.
I'm so glad you told me about the flip-flop thing, because like
I know I'm gonna have to tell her that inspired
all I had to
you.
think about was like men's sartorial decisions, and I was like off to the races there. So thanks for that.
If you could be any like TV movie character, who would you be?
Oh, Jenna Rink, 13 going on 30. Or Parker Posey's character in the 1995 downtown New York City classic Party Girl.
Have you been asked this before?
Kind of, but they're also both my fashion inspirations.
Okay.
Jenna Rink, I love her life, right? That was like my dream, was to be a fashion magazine editor. And it's like the year's like 2003. I feel like that was a really nice time to be like 30 years old in New York City. And then Parker Posey's character, she's just like, you have to watch the movie. Her wardrobe is incredible, and she works at a library, but she's just like having a blast. I also love Betty Suarez in Ugly Betty. And she's really close with her family and they all live together. And she's just got a really good heart. So I feel like switching lives with her, you'd be a happy person.
Very fun answers. What is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
My mom hits me with like some really good one-liners that she's told me like my whole life. But growing up, I remember going into my bathroom one day and there was like this pink wooden box that said, never let anyone dull your sparkle, in like sparkly white letters. Like, you know, she went to Home Goods, saw that and was, this is perfect for my daughter. And it lived in my bathroom forever. I feel like we still have it somewhere. But I think about that all the time. Like, never let anyone dull your sparkle.
Yeah.
It's not that deep, but you got to protect yourself and your energy and who you are. So shout out my mom for that piece of signage because it's really stuck with me.
I can see some like Big Silly Trivia merch with some little like that going on.
Yeah, I think design inspo, you know, like good bad t-shirts, like really over the top, like a sorority t-shirt from 2007.
Yeah.
Like the script writing and like a V-neck. I feel like now we can full circle bring those back and it's kind of like.
It's like camp.
Yeah, camp is important.
I also think of the type where Hailey Bieber's shirt that's had like Nepo Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like something like that.
Yeah, we love writing on t-shirts.
Like playfully ironic.
Yes.
And then what is it could be like a creator, a resource, a podcast, a newsletter, anything like that you recommend?
That I recommend. Honestly, one of my dear friends, Pia Mance, I like look to her constantly for inspiration, guidance. She's such a superstar. It's insane. She's just building something that like 10 years from now is it already is like a household name. I saw like 5 girls on the way here wearing Heaven Mayhem, but I'm genuinely inspired by her and she's been such a great friend and resource. Like she's very generous with her expertise. She has her podcast, she has her brand, and she's also just like hilarious. And she's very much herself. Like any piece of content that you watch of her, she's super funny and she's really focused. She's really focused and she's really committed. Like talk about a North Star, like that girl knows where she's going. So I think knowing someone personally and also seeing what they're building and seeing how they interact with the world and like it's all cohesive is very inspiring.
I love that. I love her podcast too. I listened to her most recent one like a couple days ago. It was really good.
She's got like a beautiful voice to listen to.
Yeah.
That accent. I'm like, and yeah, she's the best. Shout out Pia.
Amazing. Well, are there any announcements coming up with Big Silly Trivia? Anything we should look out
I
for?
don't think any that I can share quite yet, but follow the Big Silly Trivia Game on Instagram. That's our private account where we'll vet you. And if you make it, you'll be let in and invited to play a game. We also just started a public Instagram sharing like game clips and such so that we can kind of continue to share the holy gospel, if you will. And I think if you haven't yet, play the Big Silly Trivia Game. We give away incredibly chic prizes each week. The themes are always really juicy and fun and niche. And it's an incredible community of women and, again, girls, gays, and theys across the country that I'm really proud of. And I'm really proud of the community that we've built and everyone that's a part of it. So say I sent you. Say we sent you from the podcast if you haven't played yet. And if you're interested in what I'm doing on the internet, you can follow me also at NatGawd, NatGawg.
Yeah, plug.
But Big Silly always.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I can't believe it's only been a year. You guys have done so much in 12 months. So happy birthday coming up very soon.
Thank you. I guess Big Silly Trivia might be a Pisces. That doesn't feel right. We'll have to do her full birth chart. She doesn't strike me as a Pisces, but I think technically she might be. But thank you. It's been a really exciting year and made possible by so many different, really smart, creative people. And I feel like my role has really just been to kind of step in and like give it life. And I love it so much. And that's all that I hope, is reflected through everything we do.
No, it's a great game to play and it's very fun. And I'm so happy that I got to learn so much about the origin story of it and more about you. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I love it in here. I love the lights. I love the couch. This was so much fun. And
see you Wednesday.
Yeah, see you Wednesday nights, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time.